Yeah, how is conscious leadership unique from what we hear about, whether it's servant leadership or situational leadership or adaptive leadership? Like what's unique about it?
Um, what comes up for me, Allison, is that I'm kind of inclined to reframe it from what's the value add, sort of how's it different to how's it additive? That's what I'm really
Yeah.
focused on. How is it additive? How does it add to these other pieces, whether it's servant leadership or situational leadership? And um, I think that there are, how can it help evolve and add more context and nuance and effectiveness to the familiar leadership model? Because it's not against or denying those other models, right? It's additive. There are, let me see how I can make sense of that. So there are kind of three levels of relationship that we operate in, right? And I'll say them, there's intrapersonal, that's a relationship within myself with myself. There's interpersonal, right? There's the relationship that you and I, either individually or you and I collectively, I'm relating to a person or a community. And there's this transpersonal relationship, right? The relationship that I have with that which is beyond the individual or the collective. So intrapersonal, interpersonal, transpersonal. Something like, emotional intelligence or situational leadership, or, emotional intelligence, for example, begins with intrapersonal, right? Self-awareness, self-management, and then goes to interpersonal, right? Other awareness of other and relationship management. Situational leadership is almost entirely interpersonal, right? What's happening with them and how do I best serve wherever they are in a developmental mode and so forth. I think that in particular, as I've mentioned already, what conscious leadership adds is that transpersonal. And it's transcend and include. It's not against or without, but it's transcend and include. So it includes the intrapersonal. Part of being conscious is being self-aware. Your emotional intelligence is, I think, some of your bread and butter. It's hugely important. Some of consciousness is then aware of others and relating with others. And part of consciousness is then aware of life, or what is the situation calling for. And I think where we falter is where we think that it begins and ends in the skin suit or the meat suit that we're wearing as an individual entity. And where we thrive is where we recognize the fundamental interconnectedness of all things in the universe, including all people. And when we can bring that fundamental sense of interconnectedness on top of the actual interpersonal and the internal, we now have some really profound, interesting types of leadership opportunities, right? And it's moving from a self-centered, even interpersonal, still self-centered. It's how do I relate to you? What do you want? But how do you view me? I mean, how much of our time is spent in sort of perception management, right? How much of our time is spent in what do they think about me? And I'm not going to say it because how does it feel? And oh, did I come off well in that? Am I going to have another opportunity? Did they like me? It's so self-centered, right? That doesn't go away. But there's another dimension we can add. What does life want, right? What is it that I need to bring up to the team now that's not comfortable to me, but will serve because that's what the team energy, that's what the team pulse requires. So that's where I think it's additive and enhancing rather than sort of unique or different. It's more, it's bigger.
Yeah.